I met Jamal through mutual friends in Bahrain. He was a Qatari. We were girlfriend and boyfriend for a number of years before we got married. In actual fact, we had decided to split up. Unfortunately, I found out I was pregnant. So we decided to get married. When we got married, after 3 months, he disappeared off the scene. And I didn't see him until after I delivered Adam. So realistically, he wasn't there. He came back on the scene and obviously wanted to see his son, and we developed a kind of cordial relationship that he would come over and see his son and he would go back. He didn't really interfere in our lives. We kept good relationships for the sake of the son. And our Adam never knew there was anything wrong between me and Jamal. We were always nice to each other, always very pleasant with each other. He used to come and see him once every 3 to 4 months for a couple of days. He'd take him out, buy him some toys, enjoy his time, and Adam loved him. He loved him to death. And I never wanted to spoil that relationship because at the end of the day, no matter what, he's his father and I wanted him to have a relationship with him. And Jamal was a good person, you know, he was. He loved his son. I know he did, because I could see that immediately when he met him. There was a bond that you just couldn't break. But unfortunately, he died in a motorbike accident in Qatar. He was only 36, so he was quite young. It was tragic, and I actually received a call from his wife the same night. She's a Brazilian. They actually used to visit us as a family. We had no issues at all. She called me on the same night he died, and I flew to Qatar to be with her and the family. And I attended the funeral for 3 days. It was very upsetting and very sad, especially for my son. After which, we still had contact with the family. They came to Bahrain a few times and we went to Qatar a few times. In this instance, they called me in September and asked if we could visit them in Qatar because they said that the grandmother was sick and she really missed her grandson. I, up to this point, had had no issues with this family at all. They'd always been very nice, very cordial. So we arrived in Qatar and we went straight to the hotel, and for the next 2 days we visited the family as normal, as in the past, no issues at all. So everything was okay. On the 5th of October, we were supposed to leave in around 1:30, and I received a call about 8:30 in the morning to say, could I let my son come to their house because they wanted to see us before we left. So it was very early in the morning, so I said, no problem, but I'm not ready. They said, well, we'll send the driver. After about half an hour, I received a call from one of the uncles to say that they wanted me to go with them to the Miners Authority. That wasn't unexpected for me because the Miners Authority had actually contacted me before we'd left Bahrain and said, we'd like to see you when you come to Qatar to go through your son's inheritance and any questions that you might have. So again, it wasn't a red light for me. So I got dressed and I went there with the driver. The uncle met me and was very nice to me and chatting and everything else. We went to a building which I thought was the Miners Authority, but was actually the court. We went to a room and he basically said to me, Khalid, who was the guy that came to Bahrain to visit us and did the report on my son, would be there in a few minutes, and before he came we needed to discuss a few issues in terms of my son's inheritance. The inheritance is about £1 million. He has land and obviously investments as well, which he gets a substantial amount of interest on. He is quite a wealthy little boy, which we can't actually touch and we wouldn't want to touch. But yeah, he is quite wealthy. So in this instance, the uncle said to me, we have a piece of land that belonged to Jamal, my ex-husband, with his new wife, who had invested in the land. And I knew about that piece of land as well because Jamal had told me about it. And he said because of the impending death of his mother, we needed to divide the land as quickly as we could because it would cause complications in distributing the wealth. I felt a little bit uncomfortable about it because when he showed me the document, he was going through the document as in, this is the piece of land, because it was all in Arabic. So he was pointing out the words to me, which I couldn't understand anyway. But then the other brother basically said to me, okay, I'll call Ali. Ali being the other brother who had developed a relationship with us over 1 year. Obviously now I know why he developed that relationship, because he wanted me to come to Qatar for this reason. But at that time, I trusted him. And he spoke very good English and basically said to me, what happened? You don't trust us? We're your family. You know, we're doing this for your son. You know, and this is a piece of land and we want the best for you and we want the best for your family. And we just don't want problems. Come on, don't be silly, we're your family. And I felt that they were, you know, saying to me, this is just a document regarding land, nothing more. So I signed the document. When I signed the document, he basically stood up. We then walked upstairs to the Miners Authority's office and Khalid, who had been our contact, was there. And he looked very upset and very distressed. And I actually felt sorry for him. I said, what's the matter? Are you okay? And he obviously then looked at Fahad, and Fahad turned around to me and said, look, I've tricked you, I've lied to you. Jamal didn't take your son, I'm going to take him. You don't have a son anymore. And stood up and walked out. And as you can imagine, it was quite horrifying. I was very distressed. And I asked Khalid what the document was that I had actually signed because I didn't know. He basically told me it was the document to inform me that they were filing for custody of my son. The grandmother was filing for custody of my son. I was in total shock at that time, very hysterical, upset. I didn't know where to turn because I don't know anyone in Qatar. My husband was here. So I went directly to the grandmother's house, which was the only place where I knew in Qatar. But they'd already planned to take my son from that house already. It was premeditated. They had been planning this for about 1.5 years. We found out after. The relationship of the uncle who'd come to Bahrain and made a relationship with us was all a pretense. So he was gone. Obviously there was some heated discussion with the family then, but they were it was like a Jekyll and Hyde kind of thing. They just said, we're taking him. That's it. You know, and it was devastating for me. So I didn't even know where my son was, and for 8 weeks I had no idea where he was at all. Because they had planned everything in advance and because I'd signed this paper, they refused to accept that it was a kidnapping because they said that it's a custody case. So the mother is very old and sick. So if she died, they wouldn't be able to seek custody of my son. She's the only one that can take custody. So they had to do it before she died. So yeah, it's all been a trick. I personally don't think they are interested in Adam. I think it's purely financial, for financial gain. Unfortunately, the judge listened to their side I don't feel that we were listened to at all. Fahad, the uncle, who has orchestrated all of this, wanted me to have no contact with my son. So when they received custody, he refused visitation. So we had to go back to court. He's trying to completely close all ties to his previous life. So the grandmother, because she can't speak any English at all, so my son can't really talk to her very much. She basically said that Jamal had died and that Adam was a replacement for Jamal and that I didn't have a son anymore. So that was very upsetting. Yeah, she said maybe I can see him in a few years' time. So we had to go in front of a judge and basically beg to see him. They put a number of stipulations to the visitation. They wanted armed guards there in case I tried to snatch my own son, which was... Sorry about that. They said the meeting must be in their house, that Alex and Barry were not allowed to see Adam again. You know what I mean? So they tried to make it so that we wouldn't accept that and that it would delay and delay and delay. Unfortunately for him, he didn't expect that. So the judgment was passed. And when we got there, even though we had a court order, he refused for me to see Adam. So we couldn't see him that day. So as you can imagine, I had 100% built myself up that I was going to see my son after 8 weeks, and he refused. So that was torture. Luckily, because of the intervention of the British Embassy, action was taken, and the next day I was informed by the British Embassy that I was going to see my son. That obviously was quite stressful for me as well, because I was expecting again to be turned away, but luckily this time there were a number of police, I would say probably about 15 police officers waiting when I got to the house, which was also very stressful and scary for me as well, you know.